The South Africa-European Union political dialogue is underway in Pretoria, and this is set to discuss the Ukraine war, the just energy transition and broadening trade partnerships. It comes just a week after South Africa hosted Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, and just a few weeks before the joint military exercises with China and Russia. Newzroom Afrika's Govan Whittles is at the dialogue and joins us now. Govan, good morning to you. And it's been quite a busy time, to say the least, for our Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Perhaps put us in picture as to what South Africa is hoping to get out of this meeting with the EU, and in the same token, what the EU representatives are trying to also get out of their relationship with South Africa.
Well, it's an important meeting because South Africa hopes to broaden its trade partnership with the European Union. Only that's, of course, what they say they would like to get here. But let's take a look at the perspective. We've just hosted the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergey Lavrov, and we're preparing to hold those joint naval exercises in Durban with the Chinese and Russian military. At the same time, there's been a wave of criticism against South Africa for doing this while the Russian occupation or war in Ukraine continues. The military exercises ironically planned for the date when Russia invaded Ukraine, but the interesting part here is that South Africa continues to receive these visits from the European counterparts, and as one analyst put it, South Africa is able to use these different overtures that are being made from the different sides of the world, the West and the East, to score better trade conditions for itself. And that's exactly what it hopes to do here. South Africa is the or the European Union's biggest trading partner in Africa. We trade with the EU from everything from automotive sector to apples and oranges in the citrus sector, and there are a number of standoffs that they hope to address here. One of them, of course, the citrus issue, for which Spain wants to impose stricter conditions on South African imports. But there is a bigger potential for trade when it comes to energy. That's because Germany, which is part of the European Union, questionably the leader of the European Union alongside France ever since Brexit, plans to use green hydrogen as one of its main drivers towards achieving 100% reliance on renewable energy by 2035. By 2030, they want to have 80% of their energy coming from renewables. Right now, they've restarted a coal mine in Germany. They say that's only because they've had to cut off gas supply from Russia because of the Russia-Ukraine war, and they hope to lean back onto renewables as soon as possible. But the fact that South Africa is developing a green hydrogen corridor then places us in pole position for a trade partnership that could be hugely beneficial to our country. The South African president already having signed what would be called the foundations of a big trade agreement towards that project and deal with Germany. Then, when it comes to the issue of security, the South Africans acknowledging that they share different perspectives on the Russia-Ukraine war, but stating that they need to have a consistent application of the international rules. That is, of course, the United Nations Charter. That, of course, being a snipe at the inconsistent application of the condemnation of occupation of Russia in Ukraine, while at the same time not having the same level of condemnation of Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. And we'll listen to the International Relations Minister, Naledi Pandor, and what she had to say about really what they hope to gain out of these talks when it comes to security. Chief among them, of course, support for South Africa's push for reform of the United Nations Security Council and a permanent seat for Africa at that table. At the same time, let's listen to Mr. Joseph Borrell. He is the European Union's High Representative on Foreign Affairs and Security. He's leading this delegation, which has a number of commissioners from finance to trade, as well as higher education and health, where they hope to partner. So let's take a listen at what the dignitaries had to say.
Cooperation among like-minded countries, as we are. A strong dialogue among those that do not necessarily agree with each other from the start. Certainly there are things in which we don't see on the same way. We see this in the context of the European Union, where the Russia war against Ukraine brought European Union members tightly together in areas where the European Union, until recently, did not play a particular strong role, in particular in defense policy. But more and more, these sad circumstances has become an awakening point for the European Union. But we see this perhaps even more in our external relations, where we understand the absolute necessity of forging new initiatives and new alliances.
I wish to thank the High Representative for the bilateral consultations and the meaningful exchanges we also had yesterday, when we discussed a wide-ranging number of peace and security issues and development matters. In our respective regions, we did an assessment of them, as well as an assessment of the globe. Our discussions will no doubt contribute to how we work together to address all the pressing challenges confronting ourselves and our globe. And I know that we are going to increase our level of engagement, particularly in multilateral fora, and ensure that we promote our shared commitments to multilateralism, democratic principles, and the equal enjoyment of the rule of law. We also believe, and I know we agree on this, that seeking to strengthen the United Nations system must be a priority of our partnership.
Govan, Whittles, thank you very much for giving us a sense of what has been said in these SA-EU dialogues, political dialogues. Very, very important discussions indeed.